Again, this is Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now it's the end of another month, which means it's time to once again review the state of the biking news for the last month, courtesy of MCN's back issues. So if you're interested in what's been going on here in the UK bike press for the last month, stick around and stay tuned. Right, now I have a bit of a confession to make. I've got a bit of an unusual day today, and these reviews usually take me the best part of a day to actually record, edit and get posted. So apologies if this one has gone up a little bit late. And I only actually have 3 copies of MCN because I'm starting this review off a little bit earlier so I can fit it all in during the day, and I'm hoping during the time that I'm doing the review of these papers, I'm going to get the 4th paper delivered, and I'll have to read it in between times as well. So there's going to be a bit of editing involved in this one, but bear with me. So I'm going to go through the news as usual from the last month in MCN, and towards the end of the video, I'm just going to go through some parish notices to let you know what's coming up on the channel. So stick around. Okay, first up then, this paper, and the first story I've picked out is this one here, Indian FTR 1200 confirmed, and this is the flat tracker prototype. Well, we saw the concept bike a while ago, and Indian have now confirmed that they're going to actually make this. I think it looks absolutely incredible. I've never ridden an Indian. Indian bikes are pretty rare in this country, of course US manufacturer, but this particular machine looks absolutely lovely. It's just got a sleek look, lots of carbon, looks really good. 1133cc engine. It's going to sound absolutely amazing. And MCN reckons we're going to see this one possibly at the bike shows later this year, and possibly on sale in 2019. So that's just one to look out for. I think that's going to be one of the stars of the show, perhaps of this year's NEC. Let's hope we get to see that anyway. I think that looks absolutely stunning. Okay, so I just thought I'd point that out. It's a lovely looking bike, and it's very rare that I say that about American built machines. Not because I don't like American built machines, but just the way it is. Okay, next story here. Now this is to do with bike theft, something that comes up again and again, particularly in the context of London. And this particular story caught my eye. The headline is, "Officers pose as couriers to catch moped thieves." And the idea here is that apparently there have been some Metropolitan Police officers actually riding mopeds recently around London in an attempt to actually lure these moped thieves towards them. Now the Metropolitan Police have neither confirmed nor denied this tactic, but I think it's a fantastic idea, and I hope this really is true and it has happened. Another thing that a while back I posted a video all about bike theft, and some of the comments, or quite a few of the comments I had on that, were, why don't the police put motorcycles out there as like honey traps, if you like, wait for people to come and steal them and then get their thieves that way. And again, I like that idea, but I've got a bit of a feeling that if you do that sort of thing, that in itself may be illegal. I'm not sure. There's some legal ramifications around setting traps like that, but personally, if these guys are out there stealing bikes and mugging people off the street, then I'm all for whatever tactics the police can employ. So I really hope that's true anyway, that officers are posing as couriers so that they can catch moped thieves. I know for sure that actually, since there's been a bit of a crackdown on the whole moped thief thing, and it's been a bit more prevalent in the media, then actually moped crime has gone down a little bit, so that's good news. Anyway, so good on the police if they are indeed doing that. Let's hope they are. I like to think they are. Okay, next story. Oh yeah, this is a review that MCN have done, one of their in-depth reviews of the Tracer 900 GT. Now the reason why they call it the real Grand Tour, and this is they take it on a 250-mile round trip basically to test the bike. The reason why I pulled this one out is because I was lucky enough to ride the Tracer 900 GT just last week, and I really like the bike. I've got a proper review coming up with that, and I'll be on the channel in the next few weeks. But yeah, what an amazing bike, great value. I mean, at the end of the review, I won't give away too much, but I was left with myself kind of questioning, why would you spend 18 grand, say, on a big KTM or a big BMW or a big Ducati, when actually, if you want sport touring, the Tracer 900 GT does everything that you can possibly want. It really is an amazing value machine. It goes well, it looks nice. All sorts of changes over the previous Tracer 900. Yamaha have listened to the customers, they've upgraded the suspension, they've changed the screen, they've changed the riding position. Nice bike, so look out for my review on that. MCN actually, on their verdict, they've given it 4 out of 5 stars, which I was a little surprised that it dropped a star actually, because I could find very little wrong with it. But £10,649 is what you'd pay on the road for one of those, fully kitted out with everything you need. As I say, if you go for a sport tourer, one of, in quotes, premium sport tourers, you know, a big BMW GS or something, you're probably paying nearer 18 grand. Why do you need to spend that when you can have one of these? Is a possible question that you might want to try and answer. There we go. So there we are. That's the Tracer 900 GT coming up soon. Stay tuned for the channel for my review on that. And then the last story in this first paper is this one. This is the Brutale 800RR, which has been around for a while. An absolutely stunning looking bike. But the question here is that MCN are posing is it worth 14 grand or nearly 14 grand? I think it's about 13.7, something like that. 13,840 on the road. An awful lot of money. Now, there's no doubt this is Italian Exotica. It looks absolutely beautiful. MV have done a lovely job of the styling on this. But it has been around for a few years, and it is lacking a few essential, well, not essential things, but it's lacking a few things that you would expect on a bike of this sort of price. So, for example, it's got ABS and traction control, but it doesn't have lean sensitive ABS and traction control. I recently rode, in fact, I'm currently in the garage, I've got this very bike here on the screen, the KTM 790 Duke. That is 8.5 grand. That comes with lean angle sensitive ABS and traction control. This thing, 14k, doesn't have it. That comes with a full colour TFT. This, 14 grand, doesn't have it. So, you know, it kind of makes you wonder whether just the Italian cachet and the design of this bike is enough to make you want it for 14 grand. It is a lovely machine, but I think I would be very hard pressed to spend 14 grand on that particular bike, given the other machines that are out there. Not least the KTM, not least things like the Street Triple, and even the Speed Triple as well you can get for this sort of price. So yeah, I think that's way overpriced, and that pretty much is what MCN is saying as well. Okay, so that's it for the first paper. Moving swiftly on. Right. First story I've picked out from this second newspaper is this. Electric motorcycles. Now, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you'll know I'm a huge fan of electric bikes, having ridden the Zero DSR and the BMW C Evolution scooter. Amazing bits of kit to ride. This particular bike is the Zero DS, which is slightly less powerful than the DSR I rode, but not by much. And the point that the article here is making is that this bike is learner legal. Because of the way that power classifications are made in this country, this bike actually is regarded or classified the same as a 125cc machine. So if you're a learner, you can go out and get one of these. Unbelievable. Think that needs a revisit. If you watch my Zero DSR videos, you'll know that I fell foul of a lack of traction control on the bike and I came off it. And I've been riding bikes for years. So if you're a learner and you jump on one of these for the first time, I think you're going to be in trouble. Don't get me wrong, lovely bike, fantastic machine. But if you're a learner and you're tempted to buy one of these, my recommendation would be don't. Sorry, Zero, for that, but it's just too much of a bike for a learner, I believe. And it's not, it's not Zero's fault that it's been classified like this. There's, the legislation's not keeping up with the technology, and there's a lot of cases where that happens, isn't it? So yeah, just don't get one of these if you're a learner. But if you're not a learner, get one because they're fantastic. All right, so that was just interesting that a bike of this power or this performance can be classified as a 125, just down to the way that the peak power is delivered versus how an internal combustion engine works. But there we go, just a little legal anomaly there. All right, next story, just tucked down the bottom here. R1200 GS is still the market ruler. And I keep a sort of a general eye on the stats of sales of bikes out of interest. And it turns out that if you combine the GS Adventure and the standard GS, this year so far it's sold 1,580 bikes, which may not sound like a lot of bikes across the whole country, but actually that's way ahead of any other machine. And that's in all classes, I believe. So that sold more bikes than anything else, which is incredible. If you look at bikes individually, then i.e. you don't take the GSA and the standard GS together, then it's the Honda PCX 125 that tops the list with the 842 bikes sold in 2018 so far. But nonetheless, isn't it incredible that a bike that's so expensive can be the top seller? I know that the GS comes in for a lot of stick, probably because it is the top of the tree. I'm a huge GS fan, as you may know. I love my GS. But they do have a bit of a stigma attached with them, which is a bit of a shame. But they are popular for a reason. They're just very good bikes, and it's still way outselling everything else out there. So thumbs up as far as I'm concerned for the continued success of the GS. Okay, next up is this story, budget version of Big Scrambler, and this is something that I've been tracking for a while now. Triumph, it seems, are going to be coming out with a big version of the Scrambler. Now, I love the Scrambler genre of motorcycle, and what it seems that Triumph are going to do this time is use the 1200cc engine out of the Thruxton, or a detuned version of it, and stick it in a Scrambler type frame. It's a great idea. I think here on these spy shots, the bike looks absolutely amazing. And MCN have already spied a high level premium version of this with Olin suspension and stuff like that. This bike they think is going to be the budget version, so it's got shower suspension, not to be sniffed at, great stuff. It's got slightly lesser brakes, I think, slightly just some downgrading of componentry, just so there'll be a cheaper version and a more expensive version. They reckon, MCN, that this version is going to be about £10,500 when it comes out, and they reckon, again, we might be seeing it at the NEC show in November. So again, this is going to be one of the stars of the show as far as I'm concerned. If Triumph do unveil it, I should be heading straight to their stand to check out the new Scrambler. This will be an amazing bike. As I say, I love Scramblers, and if they do it with the 1200cc engine, I just think it's going to be super cool. So thumbs up, we'll keep an eye on that. That's going to be a great bike, I'm sure. Okay. Next story here. Now, I couldn't get through the month of June without mentioning the TT. What an incredible Isle of Man TT it was this year. Records just fell every day, didn't they? Pete Hickman, what a star. Unbelievable stuff that he did. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment in the next paper. But on this particular item, I won't go through lots of TT stuff because it's obviously it's old news now, but I just wanted to point out this. The TT, I'm glad to see, are still using the Monster Grid Girls. Thumbs up for that. I mean, the Grid Girls have come in for all sorts of stick, haven't they, over the last year? Various sports have banned them. Formula One, ridiculous, no more Grid Girls. They've now got Grid Children. What is that all about? I just think it brings a bit of glamour to the whole proceedings. I, for one, like looking at lovely ladies. These girls are making an honest living doing this. If you speak to any of them, and I've spoken to lots of them, they all love doing it. More power to their elbow, and I want to see them coming back. So it's great that they're still part of the TT. Thumbs up for that. So anyway, let me get off my high horse on that one. Okay, next up in this paper. Now, this is a little feature that MCN have been doing for the last few months now, called the bucket list, motorcycling must-dos, and included in this, they have things like tours that you should definitely do. And the reason why I've pulled this one up is because this particular article is talking about how good Norway is to ride, and it's not somewhere that you hear that much about in terms of riding. And I think because here in the UK, Norway is actually quite difficult to get to. It involves quite a lot of ferries, and it's logistically, it's quite difficult. But this guy here, John Whitmore, rode Norway, and he described it as Norwegian scenery is absolutely unbelievable. It's like Scotland on steroids. And my old pal, Teapot One as well, Bruce, he said that when he went to Norway, he thought it was like, I think he said it was like Scotland turned up to 11 or something like that. But an absolutely, I mean, if I love Scotland, as you know, so if Norway's even better than that, that's a fantastic place to go. So it's certainly one on the bucket list. I'm absolutely thrilled to say my next major tour, which is I'm going to be doing at the end of July and into August for 2 weeks. I'm going to be going up, riding up to the Arctic Circle through Norway. So Belgium, Denmark, Germany, not in that order, ferries across to Norway. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to do that. I bought loads of memory cards. You're going to be watching that that tour video for some time to come. I'm going to have to limit how much I record, I'm sure, because I think it's going to be brilliant. So really looking forward to that. Going to be doing that tour soon, as I say. You'll see those videos after the Western Isles series that I'm running on Fridays finishes. Well, there might be a gap between them because I've got to physically do the tour and I've got to record them. But absolutely cannot wait to get up to Norway in the middle of summer. You know, 24 hours of daylight almost. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, Norway, definitely one for the bucket list, and I'm hoping to get that struck off very soon. All right, so that was it for that paper. Right, third paper then, and I can't help but notice the postman hasn't been yet, so there may be a bit of editing to be done after this one to add the next paper in, if indeed it does arrive today. So this particular paper, first story here that I pulled out, this one up here, Williams TT visit. Again, TT, massive, obviously, motorcycle news in the last month. But Prince William, I've mentioned him before on the channel, big motorcycling fan. Apparently, he used to own a Ducati Panigale and a Triumph Daytona. So good man, both fantastic bikes. And he visited the TT. I don't know if you saw the coverage, but I only mention this because this has got to be a good thing that it's bringing a bit of respectability to motorcycling. For some reason, motorcycling always gets a bit of a bad press, doesn't it? It's seen as a bit of a sort of an underworld, and in some ways I guess that's part of the attraction, but you know, most of the bikers I meet are perfectly normal and perfectly nice people, and it's just brilliant that Prince William is isn't ashamed to say that he's a biker too, and actually lends his support to things like, well, we've seen him at the Triumph factory and now we're seeing him at the TT as well. So good on Prince William for that, good man. Alrighty, next story here. Under the skin of the Nikkhun. This is the amazing Yamaha three-wheeler that we can't wait to have a ride on. And this particular story is showing you the engineering underneath it. And I think MCN did a little video on YouTube as well. It might be worth looking up about how this works. And they show you or it might have been Bike World actually. It actually shows you how the Nikkhun works. The engineering in this steering is absolutely incredible, the way it all works. It's well worth looking at those videos. But I think even without the bodywork, it may be even slightly better than it does with the bodywork. But can't wait to have a go at this. I've been talking to my local Yamaha dealer. They're dead keen to get a demo in, obviously. They don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Could even be next year. But fingers crossed, I'm going to get a ride on the Nikkhun as soon as they can get their hands on one. That's going to be something really worth looking forward to. Can't wait to do that. So that's the Yamaha Niken on its way. Okay, we talked about the MV Augusta Brutale 800 earlier and how expensive it was in its basic form, 13.5, 14 grand. Well, it turns out Lewis Hamilton has done a special edition of it, this one here, and this one is 19 grand. It's basically the same bike in terms of engine, suspension, frame, etc., Oh, PC's disappeared. But it's got this amazing trick paint scheme. It's got lots of carbon bits and pieces on it, bling, etc. Now, there's no denying it does look lovely, but is it worth another £5 over the top? And what's Lewis Hamilton got to do with anything? Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that Lewis Hamilton does well in Formula 1 and that he's a British driver. That's great. But personally, I'm not a big fan of Lewis Hamilton, and why he should be doing motorcycles, I don't know. He's a motorcyclist, I'm guessing. Fair enough, and you know, it's a cool bike, there's no doubt about it, but I'm not sure that the fact that Lewis Hamilton has done this would make me buy it more than if MV just said, here's a special edition. And it's certainly not worth another £5, is it? Unbelievable. Lovely bike though it is though. Wouldn't say no to having one, wouldn't say no to having a go, but I ain't going to spend 20 grand on one. How about you? All right, last article in this one, before I go and check to see if Posty's been, is, again, the TT. I had to mention Peter Hickman. Unbelievable what he did in the Supersport race. Did you see that? A new lap record, 134.62 miles per hour. It was an amazing TT, great weather, so lap records were falling everywhere. But the fact that he did that on a Supersport bike was absolutely incredible. New outright record as well, with Dean Harrison, 134.432 miles an hour. Unbelievable year for the TT. Just wish I'd gone this year. That's definitely on my bucket list. Something I'm going to have to do. I need to get around to organising it. Things like accommodation and stuff gets booked up 2 years in advance, and I just don't get off my backside and organise it. But I must get to the TT and experience that, or even another road race. I wouldn't mind doing one of the lesser ones just to get a flavour for it to start with. Maybe that's something for next year. Who knows? All right, so that's it for the third paper. As I say, Posty hasn't yet been, as far as I know, with the fourth paper. So I'm just going to sit here now, twiddle my thumbs for a couple of hours, and then do a bit of editing, and then I'll come back with you shortly, hopefully, once I've once I've read this week's paper, and give you a few highlights from that too. Well, here I am a few hours later. Those observant amongst you will notice the clock has moved on a bit, and I'm glad to say Posty has come with today's MCN. And I find myself in the bizarre situation where I'm halfway through editing the very film that I'm filming as we speak, if you see what I mean. Anyway, obviously I haven't read it in depth, but I have had a quick flick through and picked out a few stories that have just caught my eye this week. So let's have a look at these. So the first one here, Norton Scrambler 650 takes shape. Now this looks absolutely amazing. I don't know if you remember, but back at the NEC show this year, Norton were doing some sort of market testing. They put up various types of bikes, a flat tracker, a scrambler, a calf racer, that sort of thing, and asked people what they'd like Norton to make next. And it looks like they've come up with the Scrambler, because this 650, which has effectively half of the Norton V4 engine in it, is going to be made. And they're hoping that the prototype or the pre-production bike is going to be shown at this year's NEC. So that's going to be absolutely amazing. It looks stunning. It reminds me a little bit actually of the little CCM Scrambler that you may have seen. I did a video on that when I went and saw it up at the London Elite show a few weeks back. But this reminds me a bit of that. But what Norton are saying is that when they build this bike, they aim to make it less than 10 grand. At least there are going to be two variants of it, sort of a high-end one and a low-end one, and it's the low-end that will be less than 10 grand. But that kind of makes you think the high-end one won't be that expensive, but it does look super funky. Really looking forward to seeing the prototype of this one at the NEC. This could be a game changer for Norton, I think. If they can make in sufficient volumes a bike that's sufficiently cheap and accessible to us mere mortals, this could be an absolute winner. 70 to 100 brake horsepower. This is the final design. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to look at that. And they're calling it the Atlas, by the way, which is a name from Norton's past, and it just sounds good. Atlas, it just sounds powerful, doesn't it? I like the look of that. So yeah, thumbs up to Norton for going ahead with that. Can't wait to have a look at that one, and hopefully a go as well. Alrighty, second article here, police use stealth tactics. Now this is interesting. I saw this on a Facebook post as well, I think, or Twitter earlier in the week. These new stealth signs that Lincolnshire police and some local road safety people have been putting up have caused a bit of a fuss, apparently, because it says stealth and it's aimed at motorcyclists. Some motorcyclists have claimed that this is discriminating against bikers, saying that they're being unfairly targeted for speed checking. Well, number one, the point of this is that the police are saying they're using a mix of tactics, both overt and covert, to catch speeders. And number two, this is telling you that they're doing it, so it's drawing your attention to it. So I don't understand bikers that say this is unfair, to be honest, because let's face it, motorcyclists, they go fast, don't they? We're all guilty of breaking the speed limits on bikes. I try not to, but let's face it, everybody does. The same in cars, but I think more likely people on sports bikes are going to be breaking speed limits. I know it's a gross generalisation, but I haven't seen the stats, I'm completely making this up, but I would be very surprised if your average sports biker doesn't ride faster than your average driver. So I don't think there's any grounds personally to be complaining about this sign. I think we're lucky that the police put them up at all and let us know that they're in an area doing speed checking. But you know, just be careful out there. This beautiful weather we've been having recently, we've got some lovely roads in the country to ride around. Just, you know, wind the throttle back a little bit. The roads are used by other people too. Let's just be sensible. If you want to go stupid, do it on a track. That's the best place to do it. Anyway, there we go. So I don't really understand what the problem is with those signs personally. You might have a different view. Okay, next thing that caught my eye in here, KTM's new 390 Adventure Spied. Now this is a bike that's based on the underpinnings of the RC 390 and the 390 Duke. I didn't much like the RC 390 to be honest, but I do love the 390 Duke. And the idea of making a little adventure version I think is quite good. This is, I guess, in response to things like the Baby V-Strom, the little BMW GS that there is now. But this one to me looks, if you just look at the basic picture here of this spy shot, it basically looks like a 390 Duke with a bit of extra, a bit of windscreen and a bit of extra bodywork and some wire wheels. Maybe it's got some, well, it has got some additional suspension travel as well, but not huge changes over what the Duke looks like, I think. But anyway, be interested to see what that one looks like. Doesn't grab me, I have to say, particularly, but I'll remain, you know, remain to be convinced. Let's wait and see what it looks like when we actually get to see it. Not sure when that's going to come out. Does it say here? We don't know. We haven't got a price for it or anything yet, but they're suspecting it's going to be under £5 grand. Could be a winner for KTM. Those smaller adventure bikes seem to be the way that the manufacturers are going now. I suspect mostly targeted at other markets other than the UK, but let's have a look at that one from KTM when that comes out. And then the last story that I've picked out for the paper review this week, before I get on to some parish notices, is this Scrambler shootout. Now again, MCN have done one of their 250-mile tests on their big test route, and they've pitted the BMW R nineT Scrambler against the Ducati 1100 Scrambler. Now I haven't ridden the Ducati, so it's difficult to me to comment on this. So I was interested to see which they rated, because I thought the BMW Scrambler was a lovely bike to ride, if you get one without knobbly tyres, that is. And I'm generally an R9T fan across all the R9Ts. So I was very interested to see that they've actually said that the Scrambler 1100 from Ducati actually wins the shootout. They've given that 4 stars out of 5, and the R9T Scrambler 3 out of 5, which is very interesting. So I think the Scrambler 1100 must be a very good bike indeed then. So must put it right that I haven't ridden that. Again, these bikes just look cool. I mean, they're a little bit hipster generation, I guess, but having ridden the Scrambler and all the R9Ts, they go well as well. I think, you know, if you've got money to burn and you want a bike just to feel proud of to ride on a Sunday, these are the sorts of things to go for. So yeah, really looking forward to giving that Ducati a try. I must knock my friends up at Ducati UK and see when I can have a go on that, because it might change my mind about the whole Ducati Scrambler range, which I've not been a huge fan of in the past, but now with the bigger version and the desert sled, I think maybe I need to eat my words. All right, so that's it for the paper review this month. Hope that's been of some interest. If you want all the details, of course, these are just things that are highlights that I've picked up. Go and buy MCN, get yourself a subscription. That's what I do. I pay per year. Can't remember how much it costs. They're saying £7 a month, but I think I pay something like 70 quid a year, and you get one of these through the letterbox every week. It keeps you bang up to date. It's a good read, I think. I know lots of people complain about MCN. I love it. Anyway, so that's the paper review. Said I'll give you a few parish notices and some news about what's coming up on the channel if you're interested. So just to let you know, I've got more of the Western Isles tour coming up. That's been going really well, so I'm pleased. Thanks very much for watching those. They're long episodes, and I've been doing a bit of drone footage and stuff, and that seems to have gone down well. So what I will say about that particular series is, in my view, they get better and better as it goes on, because as I went on that trip up in the Scottish Western Isles, the weather just improved the whole time, and hence my dronage gets better and everything else gets better. So there's a few more of those to come. They go out on Fridays. There's my long-term review of the Suzuki Bergman, I should say, the big maxi scoot that I'd been borrowing. It's gone back now, but the long-term review is in the can. That's coming up soon. I've got my first ride on the 2018 Triumph Tiger. I know lots of people have been asking about that, so stay tuned for that. The Duke 790, you saw it on my screen earlier. Again, that's been my latest long-term review bike from KTM. I've got that at the moment. I'm filming videos on that as we speak. Those are going to be coming out soon. The next live stream, if you want to make a note, that's coming out Wednesday, July the 11th at 8 PM UK time. So a couple of weeks' time, I'll be doing my next Q&A live stream. It would be fantastic if you can join me live. If not, don't worry. The recorded version will go out complete now with the comments as well. But it's always good to get your feedback there and then, so look forward to doing that one. Tracer 900 GT I've been on, that review's coming up. I've got more product reviews. I haven't got them in the can yet, but I aim to. Some people have been asking about the gloves I've been wearing recently, which are from Vice. I'm going to do a review on them. I've got a new touring bag as well from my friends at Go Gravel. I'm going to be doing a review on that, and loads more. I've also got, running through July, so starting next week, on next week's videos, a new promo with my sponsors from Screen Angels. So stick around for the end of my videos next week and through July for what that's all about. That's going to be a very interesting one, money off, and well worth having a look at that. So you'll see that at the end of all my videos through July. What else is there to say? Well, I must just say thank you to my sponsors for this particular video, which is Custom Fit Guards. You see me wearing their hearing protection all the time on my tours, and they pay for this video basically. So thank you very much for those guys for sponsoring this and my live stream videos. And yeah, that's about it, I think. Until next time, hopefully that's been of some interest, and do enjoy the rest of this weather. It's set to stay fair for at least until the weekend, so get out there and ride your bike. All right, look forward to speaking to you again soon. Till then, this has been the Mist and Fly. Cheerio.